This is a professional handpan player. And this is me. As you can probably hear, I've never played one before. Now, luckily, I have a musical background. I took a semester of piano in high school and I received a 43. So naturally, I threw my piano in the trash, vowing to never torture anyone with my music ever again. But then I found the handpan, which seems like a pretty simple instrument, which is why over the next 30 days, I will attempt to complete 3 levels of handpan progression in order to answer the question, how hard is it to learn the handpan with no experience? Obviously, I can't do this on my own. Meet Malte Martin. Aside from being the greatest handpanist I've ever heard, he also has these beginner handpan classes completely for free on YouTube. And I'm hoping by taking these classes, I can complete level 1. Learn my first pattern. At the start, I surprisingly found that it's not that complicated to take a handpan and make one somewhat passable sound. But the real difficulty comes in when you string together a bunch of notes. And this is where I quickly realized that this instrument is deceptively complex. Originally, I thought you just bop the thing and out comes the note. Just look at Malte play. Brother's eyes are closed while playing 2 at once. And I know this is hard to fathom, but actually the instrument requires some technique. Firstly, your strike force. Not enough force and the note barely comes through. But obviously going full chimp and hammer fisting the handpan into a Wally cube isn't gonna make a pleasant sound either. But it's not just your force. The strike location on the handpan itself also matters greatly. Hitting the shoulder lets out a long, warm ring, while hitting the dimple farts out a muted dull tone. And the most challenging of all for me personally, strike location with your finger. This section of your thumb has less fat than this section of your thumb. So depending on which spot of your thumb makes contact with the instrument, also greatly determines the warmth and feel of the tone. You know, I thought this was a simple instrument, and maybe compared to others it is. But when I tried to string several notes together in succession, I just felt so uncoordinated and awkward. It was like trying to write an essay with your arm in a tourniquet, and your pencil is covered in lubricant, and your nipples are lactating, which just makes this all the more impressive. However, with some practice, I got the rough shape of my first pattern. And I mean rough. I could barely play it in slow motion, and with an instructor to follow along with right in front of me. But after just a few days of practice, I was already starting to feel much more comfortable. And this is where I should probably mention what just a few days of practice actually means. I typically have a problem of getting hyper obsessed with projects and spending way too much time on them. But with this challenge, I actually set myself a 1-hour time restriction per day. So after just a few days or a few hours, the pattern really started to sink into my muscle memory. And this is where the fun really begins. Because just the slightest variation to a pattern's ending can change the feel of the song entirely. Or it can even create a strong sense of progression, almost like you're telling a story with just a few simple notes. I mean, you can. I'm struggling too, but at least I can tell that it's possible. Because of this, learning new patterns became really addicting. And for the first week, this activity loop of warm up with practicing old patterns, and then learn a new pattern was extremely stimulating. But over time, it became really hard to not only remember all of these new patterns I was learning, but also have the time to practice them all within the daily 1-hour time limit. And after about 9 days, I started to realize that this method of progression wasn't sustainable. So that's when I decided to just slow down and take my time. Master the basic patterns that had already been introduced to me, is what someone smarter than me would say. Instead, I decided now would be a good time to move on to level 2, learning my first full song. I found plenty of people playing iconic songs with the handpan, and I could have paused the video and done some CSI detective work to figure out the notes. But over the first week, I had become completely spoiled with some of the best teaching I've encountered on the entire internet. So I really just wanted someone to make learning a full song idiot-proof. And I also wanted the song to be somewhat nostalgic for me, something most people would recognize, like a video game song from my childhood, from Zelda, or maybe from Minecraft. But I just couldn't find a video that fit both of those criteria. So I did what I should have done a long time ago. I returned to the patterns that I already knew and just spent time mastering those first, is what I would say if my ego and my curiosity weren't constantly fighting for the trophy of who could leave me with the most crippling debuffs. So I did the next most logical thing. I took the song Lost Woods from Ocarina of Time, and I just tried to figure out how to play it on the handpan myself through a process commonly referred to as arrangement. Now, arrangement as I understand it, keep in mind, I don't know anything about music, is adapting existing music for a different instrument than it was originally intended for by reworking some of the notes and the structure, while at the same time keeping the original piece recognizable. And did you know, arranging music is actually very simple for beginners? Oh, what? There's a typo in the script. What I meant to say was, did you know arranging music is actually very f***ing complex for beginners? Want to know how I know? I was taught that these notes are called 1 through 9, while the center note is often referred to as the ding. But I think most musicians refer to these notes on other instruments by their pitch. And this is important to know because what I needed to do was convert these numbers to numbers with letters. And then just find the notes for Lost Woods online. Okay, what I actually needed to do, I guess, was learn how to read sheet music.
This is our musical alphabet. And then another half step brings us back to A.
This note here, what would that be? Well, it's right above middle C, so it's D.
Learning to read sheet music, instead of playing Fs on the piano, we're going to be playing F sharps instead.
And these are G, B, D, F, A.
So are you familiar with all cowsy grass?
To figure out this leap, I'm going to use interval category. So it goes from a space to a line. So I know it's going to be an even number interval.
Or maybe not. If I keep running into wall after wall, then maybe this wasn't meant to be. Maybe I should just stay on level 1, because obviously I don't really have time to learn to read sheet music. But what if I know someone who does? Living in the modern world is truly amazing, then. Let me just give it a play. Oops, looks like another typo. Living in the modern world is truly a nightmare, man. Don't you just love getting gaslit by a machine who just swears up and down that their info is correct, only to be a giant fucking waste of time? Seriously, I spent the entire hour that day just trying to get GPT to arrange these notes for me, only for it to spit out something equivalent to baby's first keyboard. So finally, I gave up on level 2 and asked myself the next most logical question. What if I just wrote this music by ear? I spent the next several days just playing random notes and searching for the closest thing by ear. And I actually got a decent chunk of the way through the song. But I was also starting to get really burnt out on this project. At the start of this, I just wanted to learn something casually. I was already spending hours a day learning Japanese, how to type 100 words per minute, and not to mention edit these videos. So originally, I just wanted something simple to learn, something I could just enjoy casually on the side. And here I was, on day 10, trying to read sheet music and arrange this song by ear. And luckily, finally, a moment of real clarity came over me. You know what? Screw arrangement. Let's just skip right to level 3. Write my own song. Pitch, scales, rhythm, form, intervals, rhythm, scales, notation, rhythm, harmony, notation,
All cowsy grass.
Enough. I've spent days now reading about music and playing the instrument. Not at all. I haven't played at all. I'm just reading about music. What I really needed was to drop my ego, reduce my expectations, and dream smaller. For real this time. So from now on, it's not about arrangement, or reading sheet music, or music theory, or any of the other fancy stuff. I needed to do less to get more. As a perfectionist, even with me learning all these skills, that concept is so counterintuitive for me. But my new goal was just show up every day. I took things back, way back to the very basics, the scale. How am I this far through the challenge and I haven't played the scale a single time, but I'm over here trying to read sheet music and write my own songs by ear? I don't know what's wrong with me, but at least I'm here now. And luckily, I found this great video on the scale by Amy Naylor. So along with the basic scale, she also shows you some other drills that you can do to work on your tempo, independence with your left and right hand, as well as your general familiarity with each note. And over the next several weeks, my new training schedule was very simple. I'd warm up with these scale practices, then I would practice the patterns I already knew. And lastly, I would end by just jamming out and experimenting around, coming up with my own variations. Simple. Not easy to do. Kinda like apparently it's not easy for me to remember to put pants on when I press record, but simple. The scale really can be a bit tedious. However, the scale was also by far the thing that improved me the most out of what I was doing every day. A commonly held belief today is someday soon, AI will be able to do most things you can do, but better. So what's the point? I don't want to be a professional handpan player. You can likely just artificially generate someone playing the handpan way better than I ever could right now, today. So why spend time learning it? If you ever have thoughts like these, it's likely because you're obsessing about the results of what you're doing. And believe me, I get it. Many of the things I learn on this channel, I learn because I want the skill for the utility it provides. And that's a great reason to learn new things. But not everything you do has to have a calculated reason why, or an end goal that you're setting yourself to, or a financial gain to be had. Ultimately, what I really wanted was to just experience playing an instrument. And this is where I ended up. So was this worth 30 hours of time investment? Surprisingly, yes. I'm extremely result-oriented, but the handpan is such a valuable relaxation tool. It's so sensitive to your touch that if you're stressed or tense, you can literally hear it in the tones you play. In the middle of this challenge, I became completely obsessed with the results of playing something I felt would be impressive or meaningful to someone else. And because of this, I stopped enjoying playing the instrument. But once I finally convinced myself to actually slow down, and as much as I fucking hate this saying, focus on the process, I actually started to really enjoy this time I set out for myself to just relax and play a little music. Listen, I'm still a really small channel, and these projects take weeks to months to film, not to mention hundreds of hours to write and to edit. All this to say, I can't continue to do this without some support. So for just $2 a month to my Patreon, you get my videos earlier than anyone else, and you also get them without any ads. Additionally, it also gives you access to a Discord that I'm extremely active in and is filled with genuinely lovely people that enjoy talking about learning new things. Not to mention, you get to support someone taking authentic deep dives into topics with no or very little experience in, really just for your amusement. I'm kind of capable. Thanks for watching.